Okay, I've had 36 hours, I guess. A solid 24 hours to digest the consequences of the election. And I had some meditation time this morning. My dentist, June Kim, who has been on this program a couple times, answering your questions. I used to go to a dentist here in D.C. who advertised in the movies. Don't ever do that, right? Don't. And he accidentally punched through a molar, and so it had to become a crown. And then he put the wrong size crown on, and so it's crushing my teeth, and they're all starting to collapse on top of each other. And so I went in this morning, and June cut out that old crown without any anesthetic. It's amazing. And so I've got a temporary crown for a couple of weeks. But the point is, I had about an hour and a half in the dentist chair to meditate on this, and this is when it hit me. The Republicans, let me just try to frame what really happened over the last year. And it's really what has happened over the last 6 years. And how the Democratic Party and the Democratic leadership so blew it on this. And I think, with the best of intentions, this is not I'm not trying to do circular firing squad. If anybody from the Democratic Party is listening, I hope you will take what I have to say as constructive advice rather than as, angry criticism or something like that, because I want to see the party succeed. And that is that on January 20th, 2009, the night that Obama was sworn in, we had the caucus room conspiracy happening here in Washington, D.C., where Paul Ryan, Eric Cantor, Kevin McCarthy, Pete Sessions, Jeb Hensling, Pete Hoekstra, Dan Lundgren, Jim DeMint, John Kyle, Tom Coburn, Bob Corker, and John Ensign got together at the caucus room restaurant along with Newt Gingrich and Frank Luntz and planned the destruction of not just the Obama presidency, but the Democratic Party. In fact, Newt, as he walked out of the meeting, said to a reporter, or said to somebody who said it to Robert Draper, wrote about this in his book, The Tea Party Comes to Town. Newt Gingrich said, "You will see in tonight's meeting the seeds of the 2012 Republican victory." Well, he was 2 years off. But what they swore to each other they would do is obstruct anything that the president tried to do. Give him nothing. Pete Sessions said they were going to become the Taliban. Kevin McCarthy said, we are going to oppose him on every single piece of legislation, even legislation that the Republicans historically had supported, and in fact, at that moment were supporting. They were going to pull their support. Why? Because their plan in 2012 and 2014 was to run on the failure of the president to accomplish anything, which they were going to create. Right? We are going to create a 6-year environment where nothing happens in Washington, D.C., where it's all gridlock all the time, but it's entirely actually Republican obstruction. But we Republicans know, that the stupid, screwed up corporate media in America will never call us out because they're always looking for these nonsense false equivalencies. I'm doing so hard not inserting profanity into this. That they'll simply say, the corporate media, and I saw this morning, after 6 years of obstruction, of 6 years of gridlock, all this gridlock. No, it's Republican obstruction. They don't even use the word obstruction. They use the word gridlock. It's not gridlock. It's Republican obstruction. So their strategy was 6 years, make the country hurt, knowing that the media will not call them on it, and apparently knowing that the Democratic Party would not call them on it either. And this is the big mistake. You got that Harry Truman clip? This is the big mistake. Either one. The longer one is fine. This is the big mistake that the Democrats made in not every single time there was a filibuster. They should have been doing theater in front of the United States Congress. They should have been out there with bars that look like jail bars and locking themselves up or whatever. I mean, somebody who's better at guerrilla theater than me could easily come up with what they could do to draw attention of the press to the fact that the Republicans were filibustering again. But the Democrats never did that. Here's what Harry Truman had to say about this kind of thing.
Now, I want to say something very important to you about this issue of morality in government. It is just as immoral to use the lawmaking power of the government to enrich the few at the expense of the many as it is to steal money from the public treasury. That is stealing money from the public treasury. Legislation that favored the greed of monopoly and the trickery of Wall Street was a form of corruption that did the country 4 times as much harm as Teapot Dome ever did. Private, selfish interests are always trying to corrupt the government in this way. Powerful financial groups are always trying to get favors for themselves. Now, the Democratic administration has been fighting against these efforts to corrupt the powers of government. We haven't always won, but we have never surrendered, and we never will.
So this is a party standing for something.
For all these years, we've been fighting to use our natural resources for the benefit of the public, to develop our forests and our public oil reserves and our water power for the benefit of all, to raise the incomes of all our citizens, to protect the farmer and the worker against the power of monopoly. And where have the Republicans been in this fight for morality in government? Do they come out and vote with us to keep the special interests from robbing the public? Not at all. Most of them are on the other side. The same thing when you come to the question of the conduct of government officials. The Republicans make a great whoop and holler about the honesty of federal employees, but they are usually the first to show up in a government office asking for special favors for private interests and in raising Cain if they don't get them. These Republican gentlemen can't have it both ways. They can't be for morality on Tuesday and Thursday and then be for special privileges for their clients on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
So my message to the Democratic Party is what you should have been doing for the last 6 years. You didn't need to come up with anything new. Just look at Harry Truman. It worked.